Today on the show, I want to talk about the 7 critical skills that your business needs. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and this is 1. You could potentially just fake it till you make it, but you're not going to last very long. So where does this go wrong? You will realize suddenly that you are everything to everybody and you are wearing probably 100 hats in the business. Taking those 100 hats and I'm bringing them down to the 7 really that you need to be focusing on, become adaptive and remain relevant. And that's one of the skills that I think is more valuable, not just now, but in the future. And without this one, none of the other stuff really matters. Welcome to your Consulting Business Podcast. My name is Russell Pearson. This is episode 133. Today on the show, I want to talk about the 7 critical skills that your business needs right now and in the near future so that you can stay relevant, competitive, and actually successful as a consulting business. This is with the assumption that you are building a business that is around you. It's a solo practice which runs around you and your area of expertise. And if you haven't downloaded your free consulting resource, you can go to russellpearsonprograms.com and you can download it right now. So whether you're a service business owner that's been in business for decades and is actually moving to consulting, whether you're a new consultant who is wanting to launch into the consulting space, or if you're a consultant who's been around for a long time and are really starting to understand that it's no longer about having a large amount of employees, how can I run this business solo? This episode is going to be really useful for you. So let's count them down from 7 all the way to 1. Now, number 7 is expertise, and it's actually the foundation of all successful consulting practices moving forward, because there are generalist consultants, but those generalist consultants are specialists in facilitating consulting. And so they have a depth of expertise there. So whether you have a depth of expertise in the facilitation process or coaching or whatever modality it is that you have, that would be your specialization or your expertise. Now you could be a subject matter expert on an area of industry. That could be where your expertise comes in. But in essence, you need a depth, which means you need some experience, not just knowledge. It's not just about knowledge anymore. It's about how do I take my expertise and put it in practice to help people achieve outcomes. So where does this go wrong? Well, let's say that you're going to start a business in consulting and you haven't got any experience with consulting at all, so you don't even have expertise there. You also don't have experience in any other area. Well, then how are you going to actually be the one to pace and then lead someone into creating a successful outcome? Well, you could potentially just fake it until you make it and hope that you're going to actually get some experience on the job, but you're not going to last very long. You want to have a reputation for getting people results, which means that you need to have a base of understanding of what you're getting a result in. So that's why expertise becomes so valuable right now, because that's interesting. We can use artificial intelligence for many things, and there's artificial intelligence that has a real understanding of knowledge, and it basically has the majority of human knowledge out there. But it's how are we as humans working with humans enabling other people to get a result? Well, it's in understanding what are the things that get in the way of a human getting a result and then helping them get over those roadblocks and obstacles. So experience in expertise to create outcomes. That's number 7. Now, before I get too deep into the episode, I want to sort of premise things. When you start a business, if you haven't been in business before, you will realize suddenly that you are everything to everybody and you are wearing probably 100 hats in the business. And so what I'm doing is I'm actually taking those 100 hats and I'm bringing them down to the 7 really that you need to be focusing on so that you're putting them into your diary, you're spending time with them on a weekly basis. There'll be a lot of things that are happening. This is about simplifying, not actually giving you more things to do. So we're prioritizing the activities down to this 7. If you focus on these 7 and make sure that they're part of your week, you're going to be able to grow a business successfully because you know you're focusing on the right things. So if you get to the end of this video and you're feeling a little overwhelmed, I want you to understand that this is about putting these things in your diary rather than trying to remember to do them every week. We have a thing called a default diary, which I suggest to everybody who's in the consulting guild. And so putting those things in your diary enables them to happen. We take time in the diary rather than trying to invent time or make time. We're not time wizards. We can't do that. And so by putting things in your default diary, you know they're going to happen by default, and it's much easier to manage your business. So let's say that you've got your expertise. You really know what is the result that you can help people accomplish. Well, the next step is going to be marketing, right? So number 6 is marketing. How do we get people to know about us and know about our ability to solve these specific problems? Well, that is marketing. And so marketing is a number of skills all put together, but let's categorize them under the umbrella of marketing and say, how do we enable people to know who we are, like who we are and trust that we have the answers to their challenges. Well, there is a 3-step process to enable that to happen. We need to have people become aware of us and the challenge in front of them and the reason that they want to actually change. We then want them to consider us as an option for helping them solve that problem, and then finally move them to a place of decision making, which is around sales, which we'll talk about in just a minute. Now, what's interesting about the future of this is there are so many people in the consulting space. Often it can look like a sea of competition. But in actual fact, especially for the solo consultant, because you're the one doing the work with the client, they get to select you. And what's great about that is that no one else can be you. They can't emulate you to the 100th degree. And so what do we need to do? Well, we need to make sure that you, as the consultant, are out there as part of the marketing. You need to be the thing, the product that is being marketed. And so people align or they resonate with you as the specific consultant who's going to help them go from here to there. And so part of the marketing is allowing them to find you and find a resonance with you, which on the flip side means that you want to repel those people who really you're not going to work well with. And so understanding marketing is about attraction and repelling, understanding that it's a process, moving people through awareness, consideration, and decision making, and then knowing what are the levers to move to make that marketing happen. So if marketing is number 6, number 5 is sales. All right, we've had them consider us as an option to help them get from where they are to where they want to be. Now it's our job to help them make a decision. A lot of people look at sales and they go, I don't want to be a salesperson, because they're considering that sales is some high pressure tactic that you're doing to somebody. But in actual fact, all sales is helping someone make a decision. That's helping them make a decision to work with you or helping them to make a decision to go somewhere else and do something else. Now, what I love about sales, especially in a consulting space, is helping people make decisions is really your role as a consultant. And so becoming good at sales means you become good at consulting. And so if you start looking at sales as more of a lens on helping people design a way forward and then helping them take those steps, then you're probably already in the right place to become very good at sales, even if you don't see yourself as a salesperson. Maybe you see yourself as a consultant, a person who gives counsel. Well, that's what a good quality salesperson is all about. And that's one of the skills that I think is more valuable, not just now, but in the future, because there's going to be this endless parade of artificial intelligences offering things to people. And if you are there as the human with empathy, with engagement, with resonance with the human who's also making a decision on the other side, then you're going to be in the right place for helping someone to take that step. Now let's talk about number 4. It's technology. Now here's the thing with technology. Gone are the days when we're expecting someone else to do this work. I don't care if you're in your 70s, if you want to continue as a consultant, if you want to continue to evolve or really be relevant in the near future, it is time for you to learn a few skills around technology. It has never been easier. Literally the other day, I put together a piece of software without me having to code, without me having to do anything other than, with just human conversational language, tell the artificial intelligence what I wanted it to do. And so now is your time to start to take the blinders off and get good at understanding what technology can do for you, but also understanding that it's now your responsibility to do it, rather than relying on some third party to do it for you. See, the challenge with a third party saying I've got my IT person or I've got my web designer or whatever it might be who's going to implement for me is that they're busy. They've got so many other clients to deal with, which means that your speed of action is slowed down by their capacity to move things fast. So if you want to stay relevant, if you want to adapt to the new future that is pretty much already here, now it's time to start, whether you use a maturity model of understanding technology or whether you just become aware of what are your options, to start using some of this technology so that you can get hands-on and get confident at being able to create things. Now that creation could be something like a website. It could be a lead magnet or a landing page. It could be your ability to just send a post via social media. These are some basic ways of communicating and operating, and right now you want to become confident so that you can get good at adapting fast. The ability to change some text on a website should no longer be placed to a third party who might take a week to get back to you. You really need to be able to change these things in real time. So understanding what technology is out there and available to you and how to use it really is part of your process and your development process, your professional development process, to enable you to become adaptive and remain relevant as we move forward into this new future. You know, technology is such a massive area, and so I'm interested to know what you think. What area of technology do you think is going to be the most valuable to focus on within the next 5 years? Put it in the comments below. Now, number 3, if we're going to run a successful business, we need to have some strong skills in finance. We need to understand, at the very least, what's going on financially within our business. Now, if you are a director within a company, that it's definitely going to be your responsibility to be very clear on this, and are we operating solvently? So this touches on the same concept that we did with technology. It's no longer good enough just to rely on an accountant that you see maybe a couple of times a year to be aware of whether your business is doing well or not. Things continue to move fast. And so we need to be up to date on what's going on with our finances. So number 1, can we see, do we have a good month? Do we have a good quarter? Do we have a good week? Do we have a good day in some circumstances? But I think one of the things in particular, our bookkeeper is really good to have on a regular basis, so that you are reconciled with your bank accounts, you're up to date, you know that the data inside your financials is correct. But then with the accounting side of things, your ability to be able to read a profit and loss, your ability to understand a balance sheet so that you know what's going on with your business is really key, so you're not relying on any third parties. It's not going to be too far into the future that artificial intelligence is going to probably take over both the tax accounting role and the bookkeeping role to make sure that you're up to date on your reconciliations. But you right now, at least getting to an understanding that you can read your financial reports so you know what's going on, so that you're armed with what you need to make good financial decisions. Number 2 is a return to human, right? Your ability to network becomes a key part of your business success. Now, that's both from partnerships, suppliers, finding new clients. Your human interactions really need to stay sharp as we move into a highly technical, high-tech world. Are you remaining good and successful at high touch? Are you good at human relationships? Are you good at human interaction? And so while that language can actually seem a little bit high-tech, or that language can sound almost a little bit science fiction, I want you to understand that over time, the less interaction we have with humans, the poorer the quality of our communication and human communication. Which means that, well, I sound like an alien right now. But my point being is you want to continue to network. Yeah, and so whether that be going and physically attending networking events, or whether that's just catching up with people on an online video call, it's about having conversations with these people so that when you're actually in there working with humans through the delivery of your consulting work, you are good at it, right? You're good at understanding empathy. You're good at understanding how to actually deal with people to help them take steps and make decisions. Because that's the skill that we're going to hopefully continue to have as technology becomes a much bigger player in this consulting world. So how do we keep our humanity valuable? Well, it's by human interaction. And so networking is a really good practice that I recommend that every consultant does, not just for the idea of picking up clients, but just for the idea of practicing how to have interpersonal skills. And the final of the 7, which we counted down from 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and this is 1. And without this 1, none of the other stuff really matters. And so number 1 is critical thinking. Can you become good at critical thinking? Now, that's part strategy, it's part reasoning, it's part prioritization. Being good at critical thinking will actually enable all the other things to perform more effectively. And in fact, if you want to grow a business that's outside of the solo, even though this episode was about having a solo consultancy, then your ability to think about outside of that, how are we going to engage more capacity? How are we going to engage more individual people? What softwares and things might we put in place to grow this practice? Well, that's part of the critical thinking, but I think even more so is like, where do I want to put my focus? What is the strategy for me in my business and in selecting what I want to do within my lifestyle? So there are critical thinking frameworks, there are critical thinking processes. Becoming good at those and actually making them part of your everyday life, it's not just going to be a useful skill going forward, it's going to be the differentiator between other people who are doing those other 6 things and you. Because if they're just doing all those other 6 things, you could be marketing in the wrong direction. You could be selling to the wrong people. You could be networking with the wrong people, right? You could be looking at finances and making bad decisions based off the data that you've got. But if you've got critical thinking, you can really start to look at all the pieces that you're playing with. And while I think that you do need to focus on every single one of these areas, it's going to help you make better decisions around each. And so counting them down, we've got expertise. If you don't have a base of expertise, now is the time to actually get a little bit of depth in helping people solve problems so that you've got some expertise moving into the next arena. We want marketing to make sure that people are aware of us and they actually can consider us as an option in their world. We also want to actually be able to understand who they are and understand what language to be using to engage those people. Big part of marketing. And then we've got sales. How do we enable people to take steps and make decisions with us? Most valuable, not just within the actual sales process, but also when we're working with them in a consulting capacity. Technology, it's no longer enough just to give it to someone else to deal with. It's now time for us to get hands-on to understand what its capabilities are and actually how easy it is to use these days. It's not the old days where we had to work out how to use binary. Is this a 0 or a 1? And it's not even the days even after that where we had to learn certain coding languages. Even though I know some of those coding languages, and probably because I know some of those coding languages, I can tell you that it's a brave new world. Now, using conversation, using the right software, we can develop the things that took months with a coder or a developer in the past. We can have that being done in hours. And so your new ability to understand technology and how to use it in a conversational way is going to be incredibly powerful. Also understanding the finance of your business. How is it going? How can we improve it? Networking, staying human, improving our interpersonal relationships and our interpersonal skills. And then, as I said before, critical thinking to make sure every single one of those other 6 shine. Also understanding that critical thinking is about identifying where I need to improve in each of these areas. And so even taking expertise on, for instance, your expertise will become less or more relevant based off how contextually relevant it is to the clients that you want to work with. So again, a critical decision to make, and how the environment changes around you and the client. And so understanding where to put your time so that you're developing in each of those areas is going to be a key skill, not just now, but even more impactful in the very near future. And so I wonder what I've left off. Is there things that you think are going to be more critical in the role of the successful solo consultant in the very near future, whether they be things that are highly relevant now or they'll be highly relevant in 5 years' time? I'd love you to go and put those in the comments below and we can have that conversation. These are the sort of things that we discuss in the Consulting Guild, and if you're interested to know more about that, go to theconsultingguild.com, put an expression of interest in there, and I can show you the details. By the way, if you haven't already subscribed, I'd love you to click the subscribe button and ring the bell so you're notified when the next episode becomes available. My name is Russell Pearce, and this is episode 133 of the Your Consulting Business podcast. If you haven't already, go and have a look at some of the other episodes that are available for you to watch or listen to. Until next time, stay passionate, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye for now.